Are you ready to find out how to really work with your virtual assistant? In this video, I'm going to dive through my best pieces of advice of how to work really well or efficiently, or basically just have a really good relationship with your virtual assistant and how to build that relationship long term. For a lot of this, it is covered in my book, Scale You. It is out on Amazon. You can check out the link in the description below. But basically, in the last half a decade now of basically running a virtual assistant agency, I've learned and seen a lot of different personality types from our clients and from our EAs, and basically have given a lot of different advice and been stumped a couple of times on a few of basically that process of building that relationship between the two of them. And honestly, it really starts with setting your foundation. And it starts with you as the employer, as the client. Basically, what is your start? Like, who are you to the core of as a client? It's a funny thing to think about, but you are hiring someone who becomes your second brain, who supports you within your business, who supports you in what it is that you do. So they have to have something to start with. So on the business side, this is basically setting things up with like your tools, your vision, your mission, where you want to go in the business, the values you want to set. But on the flip side, it's also with you. What are your communication styles? What are your values in life? What are the things that are important to you? How do you want to be communicated? Do you like being sent a long email? Or do you want to be sent a long video or a audio note, whatever it is? Finding out who you are, because then it's easier for you to train someone else how to work and manage you. So what I mean by setting your foundation is setting yourself up to recognizing and realizing as well that as you hire and work with a virtual assistant, there's going to be a shift where you're not the one doing the tasks in your business. You're now managing a person who is doing the tasks in the business. And that is kind of a mindset shift that I don't see a lot of people always talk about when it comes to hiring and delegating and working with a virtual assistant. Is that is an important thing. Is you're starting to realize my assistant probably won't do it as 100% as well as I can, but if she can do it 80 to 90%, that's already good, because then we can get her to the point where she is 100% doing it the way that you are. But again, that starts with your foundations of what you're comfortable with, what are your preferences, what you like, what you don't like. So then as you're hiring or even as you're working with your assistant, you can start communicating these clearly and easier to them, instead of having them kind of play a little bit of guessing game and trying to figure out what their mood is for the day. You don't want to be that boss. Next is you do want to define your goals with your virtual assistant. This is to give them something to look forward to. This is to give them something to work towards. So this could be goals such as like, hey, we want to reach this many customers basically this quarter. Or hey, I want to build this system within the business within the year. Or hey, we're expanding in this way. We're going to go ahead and execute this plan. So whatever that is, you want to set clear goals and expectations with your assistant, where you want to go and how you expect them to show up as well, and how you expect them to support you. Now, of course, you don't want to expect your assistant to be a unicorn. There's no such thing as unicorns where they can do everything in your business as well as you can, but you want to focus on the goals that you know you can set and be able to work with them on it, rather than just kind of letting them do their own thing. You as the employer, again, you have the responsibility to set these goals, to set these boundaries, to set expectations and the goals of where you want to go in the business. So then your assistant knows what it is basically that they're working towards, what their day-to-day is for, and they can celebrate with you when things are doing really well, and they can help redirect you when things aren't. Next is setting your communication guidelines. Now, I said this earlier, where it starts with you. Like, what are the things that you actually care about, not just because everyone else is doing? Like, do you actually want an end of day report, or do you want a week end report? Which one actually matters to you? Do you want an email, or do you want a video report? Do you want them to be on a call? So for example, for me, my communication guidelines with my assistant is my day starts with her. Literally, I will wake up, do workout, do my morning routine, and then the first thing that I do as I'm on my computer is do a sync with her. That is how I kind of get myself back on alignment, especially if I do, and I still do end up working late nights, just because that's when my brain kind of really focuses and does things. I'm able to give her things to focus on. She's able to redirect me if I'm not aligned on the goals that we set. That's why it's important that you set your goals. But that is what my preferences are. So same thing for you and your assistant. You want to set up how often can they communicate with you? Where can they communicate with you? If an emergency arises, where does that go? If it's something that is just updates that isn't as urgent, where does that go? So you want to set up what that looks like for you and your assistant, because communication honestly is everything when you're working with someone remotely. Same thing, of course, with an office job, but more essential when you aren't hearing their tone of voice, or you aren't seeing their, body language, or how stressed they are, or how tired they are, or how happy they are. It's going to be one of the key things that make or break a lot of relationships that I've seen when it comes to client and EA relationships. So this is something you really want to double down on, is creating what are the things that are acceptable to you and what are things that aren't. Next is delegating to collaborate. And what I mean by this is your virtual assistant is your second brain. What that means is they become eventually the person who knows your business inside and out, and also knows you, maybe not fully inside and out, because of course you have a personal life, but they know how you'll react to things, so can anticipate things, they learn your patterns. So what I mean by delegate to collaborate is when you're delegating a task to an assistant, keep in mind that this is now someone who is kind of a partner within your business. It's someone who is going to start learning and understanding the vision, the mission, why you started your business the way that you do. And of course, I'll use my amazing assistant, Honey, as an example, where she understands how much I want to create a really good environment for our executive assistants at 2XU, so they can just show up for their clients. And the same thing for our clients, because their EAs are well taken care of, they're taking care of our clients, which then gives our clients the opportunity to just show up for growing the business instead of running it. So it's this kind of domino effect that I love seeing, that I love thriving inside of 2XU, that my assistant understands to the core of what it looks like, that every single time that I'm doing something that's not aligned to that, she asks me about it, just like, hey, why are we doing this? Or at the same time, she helps me double down on the things that I should really be focused on, because it's aligned with the vision, mission, and the goals we've set for the business. So that's what I mean by you want to delegate to collaborate. Want to keep in mind that as you're giving this person tasks, or as you're developing tasks with them, you're doing it to collaborate with them further, to get their insight, their input. So then for them, again, they understand what it is that you're doing. They're not just here to get the paycheck. They understand that you're going towards something that we want to become your second brain. Next is you want to make sure that you're creating SOPs and templates. And this is to make both of your guys' lives a little bit easier. So if you've never heard of SOPs or templates before, it's basically standard procedures, or essentially kind of the recipe book of how things are getting done within your business. How do you respond to customer queries? How do you set up your content calendar? How do you process bills or invoices? And how do you pay for them? So it's starting to document these things to get them out of your head so someone else knows it, hopefully your virtual assistant, and then they can create the processes and systems and templates out of it. So then if you take a leave, if you're sick, if you have a life, basically, you can take that because your assistant knows and understands your business. And the same thing for your assistant, to be honest. If they're going to be taking a vacation, taking a break, if they're sick, if something happens, you have that documentation to keep things going, or to be able to even delegate that to someone else on your team until your assistant is back. So it gives both sides that freedom, basically. So again, you're getting someone who is empowered, essentially, because they know that they're not a bottleneck in the business. They're not tied down to the business. They're here voluntarily, basically, because they want to. They're aligned with what it is that you're doing. And of course, that gives them the opportunity to show up even better. And of course, make sure that you give them feedback. And this is a key thing, especially in the beginning part where they don't know your preferences just yet, is to make sure that anytime that you see something that they did really well, or they might need a little redirection on, is you do it right away. And there's this really good book that I love that I've recommended so much on a lot of my videos, which is called The 1 Minute Manager by Ken Blanchard, where it talks about essentially how to give 1 minute feedback. So 1 minute praise when they do something really well. Again, especially at the beginning, is you want to do that. And the second part of it is when they're not doing as well, if they forgot a step or they just didn't know something, is you right away kind of, correcting is such a strong word, but it's basically making sure that, again, you redirect them. You're like, hey, this is not the way, this is the way. So it's making sure that you're realigning them and redirecting them whenever you see them kind of straying off the path, because then it's a little bit faster for them to learn, like, oh, this is how they want to do things. This is how they expect things to be done. So then for them, they know their own limitations, their own boundaries, and also where they can fight. Next is planning their training. So it's making sure that you have some sort of way that you are constantly growing their skills and what it is that they're doing, especially since for you, you might be studying a few courses that you can probably give to your assistant that they can study, and then you can basically be collaborating on that course or that coaching or whatever it is that you're doing. So as a perfect example, for a lot of our clients, whenever they're going through some sort of accelerator program, they bring their EA with them to go through that accelerator program. That way the assistant basically understands what the verbiage is or what the terms that they're going to be using, and as well as understanding the plan. So for me, when I went through the Debt Global Accelerator program a few years back, I was having my assistant go through the replays and understand the workbooks. So then even like a few years later, they're still understanding the words that I'm using, the plan that I'm using, because of course I'm coding from that accelerator program. And that is a key essential thing, is that you always have something that your assistant basically can grow into. Which brings me to the last, and honestly the biggest point, and I don't see a lot of people doing this, is creating a growth plan for your assistant. And what this means is you're creating a way that they feel like they have something to keep stepping up towards. Kind of like, of course, if you were in a more corporate setting, it's kind of a corporate ladder for them to go into. So for example, in 2XU, once an EA has been working with their client for about 3 years, they're called a senior EA. That kind of gives them the ability to be able to start mentoring other EAs. They're able to start doing other things other than their day-to-day. But honestly, it has to really come from you as the client, of like, hey, my EA, in the first year, she's now 2-3 years in, she's now actually becoming my operations manager or managing this project. So for me, for my assistant, as she is reaching 3 years this year with me, I am planning out like, okay, how do I want to grow? And of course, asking for her input of how she wants to grow and what are the ways that she wants to explore different roles or different parts of the company as well. Because you do want to, again, give them something to look forward to. So they have something that like, hey, I want to do this. I want to explore this. And part of what I deep dive in the Skill You book is it might be that, hey, your assistant has grown enough that they can take on this position in your company and you might have to hire a new executive assistant. Or it could be like, hey, they want to stay as your executive assistant, and then you have to hire basically for this role that they've been actually doing. So either way can work, as long as you have some sort of way that you want to make sure that you and your EA, basically, not just your EA, are constantly growing and evolving as your relationship kind of keeps growing. Working and building that relationship with your assistant doesn't have to be something that's super complicated or weird. It just starts really with that intention and that constant looking basically for what are the different ways you can grow. Because just like you're always looking for something to look forward to. It's the same thing for your assistant, is they want to have things that they're building towards. So then they are, of course, more than happy to build it with you. Now, if you guys liked this video, make sure to hit the like button right there. Comment below any questions you might have on how to work with a virtual assistant. And if you still haven't yet, make sure to hit the subscribe button right there so you don't miss any of my videos every Sunday and Thursday on how to work from home and how to build a business from home, which you guys can check out those two playlists right here and the latest video right here. Hope you guys have an amazing day, and remember that small steps matters. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye!